The year is 41 AD. Rome is bleeding. The monstrous Emperor Caligula has just been murdered by his own guards, and the city holds its breath. Into this chaos steps the new emperor, the 50-year-old Claudius. And on his arm, Rome's new hope, his 17-year-old bride, Valeria Messalina. She is the picture of innocence. They expect virtue. They expect stability. They expect heirs. They believe she will save the soul of the empire. They are wrong. Her name will not be remembered for virtue. It will become a byword for depravity. Valeria Messalina. Remember that name. The Roman Empire did everything in its power to erase it. Within 8 years, this young empress will prove more dangerous than any emperor before her. She will turn the court into her personal hunting ground, forcing senators into her bed and using sex as blackmail. She will stage infamous sexual contests, not for pleasure, but to prove her dominance over men. And in her final, most shocking act, she will marry another man in a public ceremony. While still married to the emperor, her punishment was absolute. Her statues were shattered. Her name was scraped from every monument. The Senate declared a damnatio memoriae, a condemnation of memory, in order to pretend she never existed. But you cannot erase a story this powerful. We are still talking about her 2,000 years later because we are fascinated by the things powerful people try to bury. It forces us to ask a terrifying question. What happens when a woman's lust for power isn't a secret, but a weapon she wields in broad daylight? Rewind to 37 AD. Rome is a pressure cooker. The streets are packed with merchants, the air smells like wood smoke and sweat, and the empire looks like it will last forever. But inside the palace, the walls are closing in. Then Caligula takes the throne. At 24, he's a celebrity. A year later, he's a nightmare. He forces senators to kiss his feet and executes aristocrats just to seize their estates and bankroll his lifestyle. When his own guards finally snap and stab him 30 times in a hallway, they don't stop with him. They kill his wife and dash his baby daughter's head against a stone wall. The palace goes silent. The question is, who's left? They find Claudius. He's 50, he stutters, and he's been the family joke for decades. They find him hiding behind a curtain, drag him out, and put a crown on his head. Claudius isn't stupid. He knows he's on thin ice. To survive, he needs a perfect family. He needs a wife who makes the monarchy look stable again. He finds Messalina at a dinner party. She's 17, with copper hair and eyes that see everything. She's Roman royalty by blood, trained from birth to navigate rooms full of killers. They marry quickly. Rome cheers. The public sees a happy ending. Messalina sees a cage she's about to break in the most public way imaginable. In 40 AD, Rome had exactly 2 boxes for women. First, there's the matron. She's the perfect wife and mother. She stays home, keeps her eyes down, and protects the family reputation. She doesn't have personal desires. She has civic duties. Then, there's the prostitute. She's the outsider. She is available precisely so the matron can stay pure. Every woman in Rome is forced into one of these boxes. The wall between them is supposed to be permanent. Messalina is placed at the very top of the good wife box. She becomes the Augusta, the first lady of Rome. She gives Claudius a daughter and a son, becoming the ultimate symbol of traditional values. When she walks through the city, she is the image of virtue. Her presence tells Rome the chaos is over. The house is in order. They are dead wrong. Messalina has no intention of picking a side. She plans to live in both worlds at once, shattering the system from the inside out. Watch her at a party in 42 AD. While Claudius is busy talking politics, a handsome aide leans in a little too close. She doesn't pull away. She lets the silence last a second too long. Later that night, that same man is seen sneaking out of the palace. Long after the party ended, nobody says a word. They still see the mask of the perfect wife. They didn't see the appetite, but the appetite was already there, pacing the floor. And once Rome finally caught a glimpse of it, they wouldn't be able to look away. By 42 AD, Rome is whispering something impossible, not in the Senate, not in official records, on the streets, in kitchens, between servants who know better than to say it out loud. The Empress is leaving the palace at night, not just anywhere, but into the Subura, Rome's most dangerous, crime-ridden neighborhood. It's the kind of rumor you can't prove, but also can't forget. Imagine a man, a regular citizen, visiting a cheap brothel late one night. The place smells of stale wine and sweat. The lighting is dim, perfect for hiding secrets. This is where powerful men come to be anonymous. He pays his fee and waits his turn, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. Then a woman enters the room. She's wearing a tacky blonde wig and cheap perfume, calling herself Lysiska, the wolf girl. She steps into the light, and in that one moment, the impossible happens. He recognizes her. Beneath the disguise is the face he's only seen on coins. And from a distance in parades, it's not a look-alike, it's the Empress, Valeria Messalina. Gossip-hungry Roman historians, writing years later, made this story famous. And yes, they love to paint powerful women as monsters, so they might have exaggerated the details. But the story survived for a reason. It captured a truth about Messalina that people couldn't ignore. This wasn't just about sex. It was a power trip. Messalina was supposed to be the perfect Roman wife, pure, dignified, untouchable. By sneaking into a brothel, she was smashing that image to pieces. She wasn't doing it for money or out of desperation. She was doing it for the thrill of becoming the one thing an empress was forbidden to be. It was about proving she could be both the highest and the lowest woman in Rome, all in one night. Before sunrise, she returns. The wig comes off. The scent is washed away. The pearls go back on. By morning, she is standing beside the emperor again, calm, composed, untouchable. Rome sees the Augusta. It does not see where she has been. And this is where the story stops being rumor and starts becoming something far more dangerous. If you're into stories like this, where history gets darker the closer you look, subscribe, because it only gets worse from here. But the brothel visits were only the laboratory. The real machinery was being built inside the palace itself. The doors close, the servants disappear, and suddenly the room changes. What began as a private dinner, gold plates, fine wine, quiet conversation, becomes something else entirely. This is where Messalina's real power lives. The most powerful men and women in Rome recline on plush couches, expecting a normal evening. Politics, military campaigns, marriage alliances. Everything looks exactly the way power likes to look when it wants to seem respectable. Then Messalina gives a signal. New guests are brought in. Gladiators, actors, performers, people that aristocrats are forbidden to acknowledge in public, let alone share a room with. The rules flip without announcement. Powerful senators and their wives are no longer guests. They are participants in whatever Messalina has decided the evening will be. Some are humiliated. Some are forced into rooms with their political rivals. Others are simply made to watch. The sons and daughters of noble families arrive for a respectable dinner and leave hours later wrapped in a silence that has nothing to do with discretion and everything to do with fear. When someone resists, the response is swift. One official declines an invitation. Dead within the week. A noble tries to leave early. His family's assets are seized before morning. No announcements, no charges, just consequences. The message moves through the palace without a word being spoken. Messalina doesn't hear the word no. She hears it as a challenge. Then comes the story Roman historians could never stop repeating. Messalina challenged Rome's most famous prostitute, a woman named Scylla, to a competition. Who could take the most men in a single night? By dawn, Scylla surrendered. Messalina kept going. True? Almost certainly exaggerated. But stories that extreme survive because they are pointing at something real. By now, the private appetite had become an architecture. Every senator who participated, every wife who looked the other way, every official who stayed silent, each one became a hostage. To expose her would be to expose themselves. To move against her would be to detonate their own lives. She no longer needed their loyalty. Everyone in that room has something to lose, and she is the only one who knows everything. While the palace descends into a fever dream of excess, Claudius stays buried in paperwork. He builds aqueducts, he expands harbors, he manages the sprawling machinery of the Roman state with surprising skill. He is a brilliant emperor, but he is a terrified husband. Does he know? Of course he knows. The air in the palace is thick with it. His top advisors, the powerful freedmen who actually run the government, are frantic. They pull him into corners, whispering that the rumors have reached the army, that the city is laughing at him, that the situation is a ticking time bomb. They aren't just worried about his marriage, they're worried about a coup. But for Claudius, the truth is a death sentence. To admit he knows is to admit he's lost control. In Rome, an emperor who cannot control his own bedroom is seen as a man who cannot control an empire. If he strikes at Messalina, he shatters the illusion of the stable family he spent years building. He would be handing his enemies the axe to his own neck. So he plays a deadly game of chicken. He buries his head in law books. He pretends the whispers are just wind. He gambles that if he ignores the fire, it won't burn the palace down. He manages to hold the lie together for 6 years, but in 48 AD, the game ends. Messalina stops hiding and hands him a death warrant he can no longer ignore. While the Emperor Claudius is away in Ostia, Rome's port city, inspecting the grain shipments. It's a critical job. A hungry city is a riotous city. While the emperor is making sure Rome stays fed, his wife Messalina is doing something that will bring the government to its knees. The man is Gaius Silius. He's young, handsome, and from a powerful aristocratic family. He is the consul-elect, one of the most important men in Rome. He isn't just another lover. He's a credible replacement for an aging emperor. And here is the detail that breaks the story wide open. Messalina does not hide her affair with him. In fact, she does the opposite. She marries him. This is not a secret ceremony in the dark. It is a public wedding, held in daylight in the heart of Rome. There are witnesses. There are legal documents signed. There is a lavish party with wine and celebration. Messalina, Empress of Rome, marries another man while still married to the emperor. The historian Tacitus describes the reaction in the palace with something close to stunned disbelief. It wasn't just shocking, it was insane. An act so bold, it paralyzed everyone. It didn't just break the rules, it dared to ask if rules even existed anymore for the Empress. Was this a coup? A crazy, reckless bid for power? Did she believe Claudius was too weak or too scared to stop her? Or had she become so addicted to transgression that the only thrill left was daring the entire world to her face? We don't know what was in Messalina's mind. We only know what she did. And for a Roman court that had tolerated so much, this was the final straw. Compromised and corrupt systems can absorb almost anything, but even they have limits. And for the first time, Rome couldn't pretend anymore. Narcissus, the emperor's most trusted advisor, hears the news of the wedding first. He isn't a senator, but a former slave who clawed his way to the top. He understands power, and he knows this isn't just another scandal. This is a coup in the making. He races from Rome to the port of Ostia to find the emperor. He finds Claudius in a makeshift office, bent over ledgers and reviewing shipping manifests. The work is boring but essential, the kind of administrative grind that keeps the empire from falling apart. And into this scene of order, Narcissus brings a report of absolute chaos. How do you tell an emperor that his wife has married another man? At first, Claudius doesn't believe it. The story sounds insane, like a bad joke or a political smear invented by his enemies. He has endured Messalina's rumored affairs for years, but this, a public wedding? It's too much. But Narcissus came prepared. He brings forward other officials, other witnesses from Rome. Each one confirms the story, the names, the location, the feast. And then he presents the final, undeniable proof, the signed marriage contract, not a rumor, not a whisper, a legal document. That is the moment denial shatters. Claudius understands he hasn't just been betrayed, he has been publicly replaced, made to look like a fool while he was away doing his duty. The embarrassment is total, and the emotion that rises in him is not hot panic. It isn't loud or explosive. It's a cold, quiet rage. The kind of rage that doesn't just want revenge. It wants erasure. Someone is going to die. The road to Rome is no longer a path. It is a fuse. Claudius is coming, and he isn't coming alone. At his back, the Praetorian Guard moves in a wall of iron, their boots drumming a steady rhythm of execution. The state has stopped debating. The machinery of the empire has finally found its target. The soldiers find Valeria Messalina in the gardens of Lucullus. This is the place she stole from a rival, a sprawling paradise of tiered fountains and imported shade. But luxury has a way of turning into a cage. The silence of the trees is no longer peaceful. It is the silence of an audience waiting for the end. Messalina isn't alone. Her mother, Domitia Lapida, is there, forcing a dagger into her daughter's shaking hands. Your life is over. Her mother tells her all that's left is to choose how you leave it. But Messalina can't do it. The woman who once played God with the lives of senators is now just a 28-year-old girl. Staring at a piece of sharpened steel, she tests the point against her skin, draws a tiny bead of blood, and then pulls back, sobbing. She is waiting for a mercy that doesn't exist anymore. Then, the garden gates shatter. The soldiers don't bow. They don't salute. They don't even look at her as a human being. These are the men who once guarded her bedroom door. Now they are the ones breaking it down. The transition is instant, from Empress to evidence. Messalina breaks. She offers names, gold, and frantic promises, her voice echoing off the marble statues. She tries one last time to use the dagger, but her hand won't follow through. She stabs weakly at her chest, barely scratching the surface. It is a pathetic, messy performance. The lead tribune has seen enough. He doesn't offer a speech. He doesn't wait for her to find her courage. In one swift, brutal motion, he steps forward and drives his gladius through her. The screaming stops. Valeria Messalina dies in the dirt of her stolen garden. But for Claudius, killing her body isn't enough. He orders damnatio memoriae, the total erasure of her soul. Across Rome, the hammers fall. Her statues are smashed into gravel. Her name is chiseled out of the stone arches, leaving jagged, rectangular scars where her legacy used to be. The decree is absolute. She is to be forgotten. But there is a final irony to power. The state spent a fortune trying to delete her from time. Yet, 2,000 years later, we are still obsessed with her. They chiseled her name out of the stone, but in doing so, they only made the hole she left impossible to ignore. They tried to turn her into a ghost, but all they did was make her immortal. Rome still stands, but only as a skeleton of its former self. Tourists now walk through ruins that once served as the living machine of an empire. These stones witnessed Messalina's rise and fall, but the official story they tell was written by the victors. The empire didn't heal after her death. Claudius quickly remarried his niece, Agrippina, and the cycle of blood began again. Messalina's children were systematically destroyed. Octavia was executed. Britannicus was poisoned at a banquet. The system didn't want order, it wanted a new set of victims. Rome tried to delete Messalina from existence. They smashed her statues and chiseled her name out of every record, believing that if you kill the word, you kill the person. But memory doesn't obey decrees. You cannot erase a woman who became the personification of a city's darkest fears. Yet we must ask, how much of this is true? Our knowledge comes from elite male writers like Tacitus and Suetonius, who viewed powerful women as a moral disease. They didn't just write history, they wrote character assassinations. While her political influence was real, the most sensational stories, the brothel marathons and theatrical depravity, may be political exaggerations designed to turn a woman into a monster. Messalina wasn't an outsider who corrupted Rome. She was a mirror held up to it. In a world of survival and secrecy, she learned that power isn't given, it's taken. She was the ultimate product of the system that eventually crushed her. Her story survives because it is uncomfortable. It warns us what happens when reputation becomes currency and institutions collapse under their own lies. Rome tried to erase her to hide its own shame. Instead, they made her immortal. And stories like this don't disappear. They just wait to be told again. If you want more of them, the kind history tried to bury, subscribe.